Chris Doumitt, the man who kept Parker Schnabel's entire gold mining empire running for over a decade, is gone. He didn't just step down, he walked away from a job that nearly broke him, leaving a void in the crew that may never be filled. Many assumed burnout was the reason, but that's only the surface. The real story involves a massive disagreement behind closed doors, a secret the show would never air. For years, Chris Doumitt was the unshakable rock of Parker Schnabel's crew. Calm in every storm, steady in the gold room, he had the rare talent of turning mud into millions. But by season 15, even the strongest rock begins to crack. Pressure had been building for years, but Parker's relentless ambition finally pushed Chris past his limit. It began when Parker decided to attempt what no one thought possible: running 3 separate wash plants simultaneously. On paper, it was genius. More gold, more profit. In reality, it was a nightmare for the man responsible for collecting it all. Chris wasn't just managing one gold room anymore. He was handling cleanups at 3 different sites, one of which was 15 miles away. He was constantly on the move, driving back and forth across the Klondike, trying to be in 3 places at once. Each cleanup required hauling heavy mats, washing them down, and meticulously collecting every flake of gold. Multiply that by 3 massive operations multiple times a week, and the workload became unbearable. Chris had long struggled with serious back problems, which had originally pushed him out of heavy equipment work into the gold room. Now, Parker's plan had him lifting and hauling more than ever, traveling constantly, and enduring pain he couldn't escape. He was exhausted, overwhelmed, and pushed to the breaking point. The unstoppable pursuit of gold had finally met a human limit, and that limit was Chris Doumitt. But the back-breaking work was only part of the story. Behind the cameras, a more explosive conflict brewed. Sources close to the operation suggest that Chris's departure wasn't just about physical strain. It was about a fundamental clash of values. Parker's empire had grown from a small family operation into a multi-million-dollar business. With that growth came new pressures and a shift in dynamics. The close-knit crew was becoming corporate, and Parker's goal, a staggering $40 million haul, meant pushing both people and equipment harder than ever. For Chris, a man in his late 50s, life wasn't just about the next gold payout. He valued his health, his well-being, and the principle of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Parker, driven by record-breaking ambitions, focused solely on numbers, efficiency, and squeezing every ounce of performance from his team. Chris reportedly felt that his loyalty and decades of hard work were being taken for granted. The tension culminated in a heated discussion behind closed doors. What does loyalty truly mean? Is it sticking with the crew no matter the cost, or staying true to yourself and your health? Chris realized the operation had become toxic, a relentless grind where gold mattered more than the people digging it out of the ground. He chose himself. In walking away, he preserved his sanity and his health over any pile of gold. His quiet exit wasn't merely retirement. It was an act of defiance against a system he felt had lost its way. And this sense of betrayal, whether real or perceived, has become an underlying theme of the show. Crew members switching sides isn't unheard of on Gold Rush. Alliances shift, tensions flare, and drama follows. But Chris Doumitt's departure sparked one of the biggest debates among fans. Some argued he was entirely justified in leaving a job that was literally destroying him. Others felt he owed Parker his loyalty after more than a decade of service. To understand why this was such a seismic moment, we have to go back to the very beginning, long before Chris Doumitt became a Klondike legend. Before he mined a single ounce of gold, Chris was a carpenter from Oregon. For 25 years, he honed his craft as a plant carpenter, building things meant to last. His entry into gold mining was pure accident. In 2010, during the first season of Gold Rush, he was hired by the Hoffman crew for a simple 10-day job: build a cabin on their claim. That 10-day stint changed everything. Chris arrived and immediately got swept into the chaotic, unpredictable world of the Hoffmans. What was supposed to be a short gig turned into 5 months of trial-and-error gold mining. The crew was notorious for setbacks, broken machinery, and high-risk plans that rarely worked. It was messy and disorganized. But for Chris, it was the ultimate crash course. He learned what worked, and more importantly, what didn't. After surviving the chaos of the Hoffmans, Chris realized he loved the hunt for gold, but he needed a more stable crew. That's when he found Parker Schnabel. In Season 4, Chris joined Parker's team, and it was a perfect match. Parker was the opposite of Todd Hoffman: disciplined, young, and obsessed with efficiency. Having navigated the Hoffmans' chaos, Chris immediately appreciated Parker's professional approach. He quickly became indispensable, the glue holding the operation together. It seemed Chris wasn't just a skilled operator, he was a veteran with perspective few others on the crew had. He had seen failure up close and understood the value of doing things the right way. His role wasn't simply to run machinery, it was to help build a stable, successful mining operation from the ground up. That shared understanding forged an incredibly strong bond between the experienced carpenter and the young mining prodigy. Over time, their relationship grew beyond boss and employee. Chris became Parker's mentor, confidant, and moral compass. After Parker's beloved grandfather, John Schnabel, passed away, Chris stepped into an even larger role, providing steady guidance and quiet wisdom to a young man managing a growing empire. Whenever Parker felt overwhelmed, Chris was there to listen, to offer perspective, and to remind him of what truly mattered. Chris balanced respect for Parker's authority with a genuine, almost uncle-like concern for his well-being. He was the positive force that kept the crew motivated, even when operations went awry. He lightened the mood with jokes, focused on solutions rather than blame, and always kept the team grounded. Perhaps the clearest proof of their bond was the trust Parker placed in him with the gold room itself, the heart of the entire operation. Millions of dollars in raw gold passed through that room every week. Most mine owners would have installed cameras and security systems. Parker? Not a single camera. In a behind-the-scenes interview, he was asked if he had ever considered monitoring the gold room. His response was telling: "If Chris Doumitt ever retires, then I'll think about cameras." That statement says it all. Parker trusted Chris implicitly. Every ounce of gold was safe because Chris was there. Installing cameras would have been an insult to that relationship. Yet, ironically, that level of trust may have also been part of the curse, placing the weight of the operation entirely on one man until it became too much to bear. Parker didn't just see Chris Doumitt as an employee. He saw him as the unshakable pillar of his entire operation. The trust Parker placed in him was immense, but in many ways, it became another source of pressure. Chris wasn't just exhausted from the physical labor. He was carrying the weight of millions of dollars and the unwavering faith of a young man who looked to him like family. When Chris finally reached his breaking point, it wasn't only about his aching back. It was about the fear of letting down the person who had relied on him so completely. Ironically, the highest compliment Parker ever gave him, the total trust and responsibility, became part of the burden that ultimately became too heavy to bear. And unlike many on the crew, Chris had a life outside the gold fields waiting for him. To truly understand why Chris could walk away from one of the most successful gold mining operations in the world, you have to consider his life beyond the Klondike. His decision wasn't a desperate act. It was a deliberate choice, made by a man with other passions and a stable life to return to. Unlike younger crew members whose lives revolved around the mining season, Chris had options. For 45 years, Chris has been married to his wife, Sharon. Together, they raised 2 children and built a life far removed from the mud and machinery of the Yukon. During the long cold off-season, Chris and Sharon escaped to the warmth of Palm Springs, California, a place to recharge, fish, play golf, and simply breathe. But Chris is more than a family man with hobbies. He's a shrewd businessman. His love of cigars, familiar to any fan of Gold Rush, became a thriving business. He co-founded Doummit Gold Cigars, sold through Tradesman Cigar Company, featuring lines like the D10 Gentle Giant and Oro Negro. And cigars aren't his only venture. He's also a wine enthusiast, producing his own label. Huge carpenter, marksman, gold miner, entrepreneur, Chris Doumitt is a man of many talents. With an estimated net worth of $600,000 and earnings of roughly $25,000 per episode, he had the financial and personal freedom to prioritize his own well-being. When the job began taking a toll on his health and spirit, Chris had the strength and means to walk away. He could choose his happiness over the demands of Parker's empire. Yet, the story doesn't end there. Rumors emerged that turned his departure from a personal choice into a shocking act of potential betrayal. In the high-stakes, tight-knit world of Klondike gold mining, loyalty is everything. Leaving your crew is significant, but leaving to join your biggest rival, that's an act of war. The rumor, Chris Doumitt didn't just quit. He may have joined Rick Ness's crew. If true, it transforms a bittersweet farewell into a dramatic betrayal. For over a decade, Chris had been Parker's most trusted man, the keeper of the operation's secrets. To take that knowledge and experience to a rival would be unthinkable, a knife in the back to the man who relied on him. Rick Ness and Parker Schnabel are longtime competitors, always vying for the best claims, the best crew, and the biggest gold hauls. If Chris switched sides, it would be a massive power shift in the Klondike, giving Rick an edge while delivering a blow to Parker, not just professionally, but personally. The idea of the steady father figure of Parker's crew working for the competition seemed impossible. Whether the rumor is true or simply dramatic storytelling, it underscores the impact of Chris's departure. It wasn't just losing a skilled worker, it was the end of an era. The calm, stabilizing force that held Parker's empire together was gone. What remained was a story of loyalty, limits, and a choice to reclaim life on one's own terms. Ultimately, the real reason Chris Doumitt walked away isn't just about gold, it's about peace. In the relentless pursuit of millions, he found something far more valuable himself. After years of pouring everything into someone else's dream, he chose his own path. In the unforgiving world of Gold Rush, where every ounce counts, Chris walked away with the greatest treasure of all: the freedom to live life on his own terms.